underground, underground. Underground, underground, underground.
Greetings, surface dwellers. My name is Michael, and these are my chthonic musings. For today's video, going to be a short one. In Halloween spirit, I will give you my first impressions of the solo role-playing game, Be Like a Crow, along with other scattered musings about player intrusion, immersive role-playing, and game mechanics. I think you'll enjoy it. But come a little closer. I won't bite. Be Like a Crow is a solo RPG created by Tim Roberts. It's published by Critical Kit Limited and available directly from them or through Drive-Thru RPG. I happened to get it through a very large bundle of games from Humble Bundle package. Many excellent games. And so many that it took me quite a while to download them all from Drive-Thru RPG. After like downloading it, it kind of stuck in my mind. Oh, this is one of those small RPGs, solo RPGs. Maybe, it kind of gave me those, cozy game vibes, which I haven't really, ventured into very much, or done very much solo gaming at all, other than very beginnings of doing like some random dungeons and dungeon crawls and just some bizarre stuff, but nothing recently. So so when I decided that I was going to delve a little bit into some of the solo gaming, this was one of the games I put on the list. I thought it would be fun, and indeed I've just begun, so this is really just my first impressions of the game. I'm finding it enjoyable. In Be Like a Crow, you are a corvid, a member of the passerine bird family, Corvidae, which includes the crows, magpies, and jays, and the raven, rook, and jackdaw. The game has 5 species to choose from: carrion crow, magpie, rook, raven, and jackdaw. In addition to choosing your species, you'll also choose a setting to play in. The settings in the book are urban crow, cyber crow, gothic crow, fantasy crow, clockwork crow, and ravens of the tower. And for my first venture here, I chose raven as my species, and gothic crow as the setting. Now each setting has a corresponding map associated with it, with a hex overlay, and this is where the gameplay will take place in your setting. And one of the first things that you will do after generating your character will be locating where your nest is somewhere on this map for the setting. Now, speaking of settings, I should mention that part of my inspiration for choosing this particular game, Be Like a Crow, other than, it looked interesting, but there are a number of interesting games that I come across from day to day. But there is a brand new cafe that opened in my town called Raven's Bakehouse. And it has very particular decor, as you can see. And I thought it's just perfect. I've got to play this particular game. Out in well, another thing is that the on their website, the bakehouse invited people to come and have a coffee and a pastry and or tea or what have you, and linger for a while. Play some games, read a book, and so yeah, I'm taking them up on the offer and coming in on a weekly basis for a little bit of in public solo roleplay. Here's the character sheet for my character, Cromwell the Raven. Instead of levels, this game has life cycle stages, and each character will start out in the first life cycle stage of fledgling, and one advances through the life cycle stages by completing a certain number of objectives. After completing 2 objectives, you can advance from fledgling to juvenile, and then after 4 more objectives, advance from juvenile to adult, and after 6 more objectives, you make your final advancement from adult to old crow. Now, I'm no artist, but I made my way with the picture sketch, and I think it looks a little scraggly, but Cromwell is a fledgling, so I'm glad he didn't look too much like a chicken, and somewhat corvid-like, I believe so. I'm somewhat satisfied with how my sketch came out. And for a description, I decided to give a little backstory. Once admired and pleasantly greeted by a well-mannered gentleman, Cromwell's friend has, of late, been displaced by a gang of rude and cranky humans who met his daily greeting of "Good morning" with "Shoo" and "Go away," of all things. For the skills, it's a combination between your species and the setting that you're in. So both of them can affect your character's generation. Because I'm a raven, starting at fledgling stage, and at each stage you advance, you can add 2 ticks to any one skill. You can also add 1 tick to a single skill from each of your main categories. You can also add 1 additional tick to peck, fly, befriend, and scare at fledgling stage, and each time you advance a life cycle stage. Then for the Gothic Crow setting, it says you were born into a world where you are seen as the harbinger of dark news. You add 1 tick to your scare skill. The lands you live in are cloaked in darkness and mist, making travel dangerous. If you fail any navigate check, you inadvertently collide with a gnarly branch or fly into a tombstone, resulting in 1 injury. There's also a special ability for the raven species, which says at the start of combat, you can ruff your neck feathers to make a scare check with authority. A success means you make every subsequent attack during that combat with authority. You can also make any social interaction checks with authority. Now, I haven't mentioned any of the mechanics. Everything in this game is done with a deck of playing cards, poker cards, with the 2 jokers included. Authority and its opposite, penalty, are basically like advantage, disadvantage, or boons and banes in other games. If you have authority, you draw, instead of drawing 1 card for determining your result, you draw 2 cards and you take the best one. And then, of course, the reverse penalty means you draw 2 cards and take the worst one. To show that I have authority with all social interaction skills, as the game suggests, I just underline each of those skills, and that reminds me that I have authority with those skills. With my character in place, I'm ready to begin play, and as I mentioned before, the first step is to locate where your nest is going to be, and so I locate mine just outside of the village, but still within the wood where the village is located. And the very first thing is to generate your first objective. There are a number of tables in this game that are also, you select entries by card draws from your card deck. There are a couple that are general for the game, which are, I think, like travel events. I think they're flying and on the ground travel events. Or things that happen to you, while you're in one of those, locations. And then there are tables that are setting specific for various locations, characters, objects. I'm not sure if I'm remembering. Oh, and the objectives themselves. And the objectives will, most likely, and some of the other prompts will reference other prompts. So they'll, kind of like in a Mad Libs kind of way, it'll say, go to, and then in brackets, location, and, see character, because they have an object, for you to pick up from them or something like that. And then you fill in each one of those, bracketed prompts with a specific location, character, and object, and so forth. So my specific objective reads as follows. A blood-stained lace glove belonging to a group of militant rats has been stolen by the ghost of a mouse who is hiding out in a hidden cavern behind a waterfall. Can you retrieve it? So I write down all the details of this objective, but of course I'm also thinking, as my character, why do these militant rats why are they in or were in possession of a blood-stained lace glove, and why was it stolen by this ghost of a mouse? And even if I do retrieve it, do I really want to return it to these militant rats? What is their purpose? So these things are going through my mind. So this brings us to my general musings and thoughts of role-playing in general, and this solo role-playing specifically, because obviously this is this is all generated randomly, and it doesn't necessarily have a whole plot twist behind it, and secrets, but as a role player, these are the types of thoughts that I think about. Is that you get something on the face of it, and I could just play this straight, and just roll up things to do, and then just do them in a very mechanical fashion, and then click off how many objectives I've done, and go to the next phase, and add to my skills, and just run through the combats as they go through, but without any particular meaning or story behind it. It might be a somewhat entertaining pastime, but I would hardly call that real role playing per se. But I did find a section in the rule book that says the following. Your story, your rules. The prompts are designed to inspire you, and in this capacity, some are less detailed than others. The more you play Be Like a Crow, the more you will find yourself tapping into your own creativity. Moreover, there may be times when a prompt doesn't make sense to you, or you have a much better idea that will fit your tale. In such cases, run with your creative spirit, and forget the prompts until you are ready to use them again. Which is interesting. So it means that I'd be, not violating the rules to venture out a little bit beyond the exact, prompts and texts that I'm given. Not ignoring them completely, but maybe extending it a little bit or putting a little twist on it. But that brings me to another issue, which is the fact that I am both, making these decisions and playing as the character at the same time. So I can hardly surprise myself in the same way that it would be if I were to be playing with another person, or even in that manner of playing in one of the choose your own adventure books, where obviously there's a limited amount of information, but it's still quite voluminous, and you can make some multiple choice decisions within that, and then have some element of surprise, because then you flip to a certain page and see something that you hadn't seen before. Certainly not a substitute for gaming with a thinking, reactive person, but it's something. So my plan, so far, in continuing this game, is to proceed as normal, and go through the various events and make the trip to the waterfall caves where I need to be, and then upon presumably encountering the ghost mouse, I'll probably make like a tree of possible things. Will the mouse convince me that that it needs to keep this item, or that returning it back to the militant rats would be a bad idea? And so I'm going to bring along with me a die, which isn't strictly required for this game. But I do have a yes or no die that I got from the Runehammer Game Master's dice kit. So I'm gonna give it a use, and just like I guess they call in the solo role playing games oracles, or maybe I'm misusing the term, but I think I'm going to use this from what I understand, use this die as an oracle, and just make up possibilities and let the dice guide it a little bit, and then continue along that way. And in addition, I'm continuing to explore this idea of the player intrusion, where the players generate content. They make up things about the world, which in my experience has typically been the sole providence of the game master. And so I've seen this come up a couple of times, not only in solo role-playing games, but also in some newer games like Daggerheart, where it really, invites and pushes this idea of players generating content, if I understand it, correctly, or not just content, but details about the world. And I don't have a problem, when it's tied to things that are about the players, player characters, I should say, their characters, or their families or clans, or even their home village, or things that we would say like well, here's something that a detail that the player can bring up about their character's past that might have a bearing. I'm perfectly fine with that. It's the parts where the characters are just making things up, like they're going into a crypt that has been sealed for 100 years, and neither they nor anybody that they know knows anything about it. But as they enter a certain room, the game master is going to ask them for details about what's inside this room that they just entered. How would they know? I mean, that's and beyond that, they could be making up things that are totally counter to what they should be, not imposing upon the world, but exploring the world. They should be taking an input, not putting output into the setting, in my opinion, and in my experience. But I'm still open to some ideas about this. And in addition to these, games like the newer games like Daggerheart or some of these other types of games or solo role playing, I've come across this role playing style culture. I'm not sure what you would call it, 4D role playing, where they're really drilled into immersive role playing and put very high value on it. And I also enjoy very evocative and immersive type of role playing to really get to be like in your character. But some of the things that I've seen in this 4D have, what did it say, like triggered triggered like little red flags in me. And maybe it's just the experiences that I've had, but where rather than ask a question out of the character or come out of the first person, playing of that character, they'll simply invent things like, oh, I reach down and grab a brick that's on the sidewalk and throw it through the window, where that brick wasn't part of the game master's explanation. And rather than ask, oh, is there something around here, heavy like a brick or stone or something that I could throw through the window, they will very specifically avoid asking questions of the game master, if my understanding is correct. And I'm still working this through. I'm still trying to learn a little bit and observe a bit. But I'm making things up in the world, besides what, asking the game master, is something that really strikes me as wrong, I guess. In a sense, I liken it to exploration, I think, is also not only immersion of role playing, but exploration of the world is an important factor in my role playing games. And so to negate the exploration, just say, well, in order to keep the role playing aspect, I'm just going to start making things up. It's kind of like, getting a gift of a gift card instead of somebody, traveling around and seeing something and say, oh, this reminds me of that person, I'm going to get it and save it for their birthday or something and give it to them as a gift, and have that connection. Oh, I thought of you when I saw this because I know you, and this is something that we share together. You just give somebody a gift card and say, like, I don't know anything about you. Here's just some money, and you buy whatever you want. There's a certain shallowness and hollowness to that. And that's what I think sometimes when I think about, people just making things up, rather than exploring, the world that I'm presenting to them. So I'm going to keep, mulling these things around in my head and learning what I can. And to that end, I understand a little bird has told me that on November 2nd, 5 p.m. Pacific, which would be 8 p.m. Eastern for me, and whatever it is for you, you'd have to figure that out. That the Erudite DM, the maker of the excellent Ravenfolk monster book, which is available on his website and Drive-Thru RPG, as well as some other things that he's put together, also very evocative and interesting. So you should take a look. But he will be, if my information is correct, joining Watcher DM, Better with Bacon, and Table Runner Crispy in a 4D role-playing session of Shadow Dark, and I'm very interested in taking a look at that and see how that comes out and what I can learn from it. So I thought I'd share that with you. Oh, and happy Halloween, my friends. Until I resurface, may your successes be many and your failures be memorable.